Hi, everybody. Um, I'm Sean David Hobbs, and I want to help all of you develop your your field work notes. And this is primarily for my students or for anyone else at American University in Cairo, um, or obviously outside of Cairo, that wants to do work in field work, field research. Um, and a really important part of field of doing research, especially if you're going to do field work and not do surveys. Even surveys you could do this. Obviously, you'll need to work on respondents, but especially when you have one-to-one interviews and subject interviews, a really effective thing that you need to be doing is taking notes. And you take notes about two things usually with field work. You take notes on the actual interview, and so that's going to be a lot of transcription. And the important thing with the transcription is that you get what the person is saying that's pertinent to your topic. Okay, so like someone can talk to you for 40 minutes, and really only 5 minutes or 2 or 3 minutes is useful for your research. So you need to listen to the whole interview. I would recommend recording interviews, at least audio, if not as well video. And then taking notes as you on a separate piece of paper, on a separate notebook, while you're doing the interview. So you have your set questions. And so you're listening to the respondent respond, you're recording it, and then as they respond, a note or two is, okay, this is important, and you'll jot those notes down. So that's what I would say you should do in the process of actually doing the interview. Afterward, when you listen to it again, when you listen to the recording again, so the video or the audio recording, what's effective for you to do is to cherry pick the parts of the or cherry pick is maybe not the right terminology, but you want to pick, you want to cut the wheat from the chaff, I think it is. You want to separate the wheat from the chaff. So you want to have the good stuff that you need and leave off the bad stuff. Okay. And so your process is thinking about what your research needs from the answers, and then leaving everything else aside, and then taking that information and putting it on the paper. So I have an example of this, and let me bring that up right now. This is it. Okay. So as I move through here, I've got a quote from my respondent right here. I knew I had been preconditioned by our Turkish media and American films to have prejudice against Black people. Always the media showed us that these were the people who used drugs, shot heroin, and snorted cocaine. So in order to see the real African in the, okay, so this is his respondent, and this is an idea from someone I did work with. Now, going into this, I won't go into too much more detail about it, but basically going into this, I took that quote and I may use it, I may not use it, but I thought it was an important quote from the respondent, and so I wrote it out. I brought out all the idea. I put it on the paper or in the document that I was using to develop these ideas, and I may use it. So now it's been what we call transcribed. So I've taken the information, I've transcribed it over. But transcription isn't only about bringing over an idea. Transcription is actually a very difficult process, but an important process, because what you do with transcription is you take that idea, which you may or may not use, and then oftentimes what you'll do is what that idea elicits from you, the researcher, from your research, you then, whatever idea is elicited, whether or not it's a theme you want to be dealing with in your research paper or your thesis or your dissertation, whatever. In your research, if that's a theme, if there's a couple of themes, oh, well, this quote, this transcription discusses, or explains to me concepts of, the superstructure in action in East Africa. Okay, so you would write that in. So those are your notes about the transcribed notes, and that's really important. Both are important to do in the process of transcription. Both your own personal feelings about the comment, and then also, obviously, the actual comment that you want to use, so the direct transcription. Both are important things to do. So that's number one, what you want to be doing from your field work notes. You want to be doing a transcription, okay? And this transcription is 1A. Transcription. 1B is your personal research or response to the transcription. So that's number one. Number two, the second thing you want to be doing is you want to fine-tune your work with your own personal views while you're doing the field research. Okay, and that is also very, very key, because it's going to inform your research overall. So for again, we'll go back to my example, and I'll I will just have some, let me bring this up here again. So I'll go to the front of the document. And this can be, in some ways, this is free writing. You're gonna flow, you're gonna let the reader, or well, there's actually probably the only reader of some of these notes are going to be you, but it's a free-flowing process just to get your ideas out about what you're seeing when you're doing the field work research. Now, if you're doing a field research with a professional person who, they're just in an office, maybe there wouldn't be that many notes, but maybe there would be. I'm not saying, inherently there wouldn't be any notes, but the point is, so I'm just writing about a guy who's a Kurdish. Well, his family's Arabic. He was raised in a Kurdish speaking area of Turkey. And I'm also describing another man from Turkey who is from the Black Sea area of Turkey in Trabzon, from a group of people who call themselves Laz. And so I'm kind of describing these two administrators of a school and how they look and how they act, and how their ethnic or cultural backgrounds affect their behavior within a Turkish milieu. And so I'm just sort of writing this stuff, and then as I get deeper into it, I end up going into the story of how this interviewee, Azad, I went to his house and met his family and played with his little girls, and had a wonderful experience there, and had spent time before our interview. Now, what's the reason for doing any of this? Well, it's helpful because you really begin to connect with your respondents. Now, you may not go back to the respondent's home, and I'll be honest, when I do research, oftentimes I don't. There's no reason to go back to someone's house. You may not go back and play with your respondent that you're doing your interviews with. You may not go play with his or her children, but you might. You may not meet his family or her family, but you might. You may not meet his or her friends, but you might. The point is, all of this adds texture. It explains and creates research that's deeper. So while you don't need to you don't need to write all of this, I would say that it helps your research writing in the end, because it allows you to get the full process of what it means to be in the field and doing field research. It allows you to put that full process on the page. So in doing an effective research writing assignment that's a lead up to you actually doing your research paper, if you are out in the field, and as many of you know, as my students, I want you to be going out and doing field research and meeting people and getting good respondents. Whether or not it's in a professional environment, speaking with professors at the American University in Cairo, or or talking to professionals in other places in Cairo, all of that's possible. But the point is, or if you're going to a school, in who knows, in Beni Suef, Egypt, or in Alexandria, or in Cairo somewhere, or if you're going to a business, in Cairo, and you write about what it's like to be at that business. Now, whatever your research is, going and writing this out is an effective thing. It's going to help the complete writing of your paper in the next in the next stage, which is actually the research writing stage. Okay, so I wish you all the best of luck, and yeah, thanks for listening to my podcast / screencast.